morning, guys. Today we're going to talk about the poem What Love Isn't. I'm going to read it real quick and then we'll look at the instructions on what to take note of and then we'll dive into it. So here we go. What love isn't. It is not a 5-star stay. It is not compliments, and it is never ever flattery. It is solid but not sweet, but always nutritious. Always herb, always salt, sometimes grit. It is now until the end. It is never a slither, never a little. It is a full serving. It is much, too much, and real. Never pretty or clean. It stinks. You can smell it coming. It is weight. It is weight. It is too heavy to feel. Good sometimes. It is discomfort. It is not what the films say. Only songs get it right. It is irregular. It is difficult and always, always surprising. Okay, so let's look at what it is we're supposed to be taking note of as we read, so we know what to look for as we annotate. It says, as you read, take note of how the poet uses figurative language to describe love and the effect it has on the overall theme. So when she says figurative language, that can mean things like similes and metaphors and all of that, but it also refers to descriptive things. So we're going to look for any sort of imagery or something that describes what love is like. So it is not a 5-star stay. There's the first good one. So I'm going to highlight this. And when you think of a 5-star stay, I don't know about you guys, but usually I think of like a 5-star hotel. So like the most fancy hotel, the expensive ones, the greatest ones. So love is not that. If love is not like a 5-star stay, well, love isn't a hotel in the first place, so what can we think that she might be meaning? She might mean like that love is not always the best. Love is not always the best of the best, which is what people often assume. It is not compliments, and it is never ever flattery. So we don't have to make a note here, we could. But she's saying these things do not make up love. It is solid, not sweet, but always nutritious. So I do want to note this part, not sweet, but always nutritious, because we think of love as being something that's sweet or pleasant or happy. But sweet and pleasant things aren't always good for you. If you're thinking of food, like cake is sweet, but it's not really good for you. So she's saying love is not sweet. You could say like cake, but it's always nutritious. It's always good for you. So love might not always like taste, we'll put that in quotes, taste or feel good, but it is nutritious. Something that's nutritious is something that's good for you. So, but it is good for you. Love is good for you, according to this poem. So there's a little footnote here, so that's for the word grit. So we're going to click and see what the word grit means. Grit is a hard, sharp granule. So like sand, sometimes grit. Love is sometimes grit. Sometimes it's sharp and gritty like sand. It is now until the end. It is never a slither, never a little. It is a full serving. It is much, too much, and real. So these couple of lines, line 10, 11, and 12, they're a little bit strange, but what's the difference? Think about what the difference is between a full serving and a partial serving. Love is never partial. Love is never a partial serving, according to this. Love is always there. There's sometimes too much of it, and it's real. If you have something that's too much, you could say it's overwhelming. So I'm going to highlight all of these. And I'm going to put my annotation here on full serving. I discovered yesterday that you can just annotate part of your highlight. So a full serving. It's never, love is never part way, because if you have a full serving, a meal is a full serving, but if you compare that to love, it's like saying you never go, it's never part way. And then I'm going to highlight this part too. It is much, too much. If something is too much for you, what is a good word to usually describe that? Think about that. What word might describe too much? When you have too much homework to do and you feel overwhelmed. So I'm going to use the word overwhelmed here. So she's saying love is too much and real. So maybe love can be overwhelming. Never pretty or clean. It stinks. You can smell it coming. This is some good figurative language. This is imagery. Think of something that the last like gross thing that you smelled. Or just even strongly scented. It doesn't have to be something gross. But the last strong scented thing that you smelled. Maybe it was dinner, cooking. Maybe it was your siblings' dirty laundry. This still but if something stinks, that's usually not a good scent. So this goes back to what she said before. It's not always pleasant. It's not always nice like we want it to be. But if something smells that bad, if you can smell it coming, you're aware of its presence, right? So we could say that, according to this poem anyway, but you are always aware of love's presence. It is weight, and it is too heavy to feel good sometimes. So sometimes love does not feel good. I'm going to highlight this part real quick. Love does not always feel good. It is discomfort. It is not what the films say. Only songs get it right. So we're going to highlight this whole little section, these part of that line 17 all the way through line 19. In order to understand what she's talking about here, we got to think of, well, first of all, what do the films say? What do films say about love? Think of every romance movie you've ever watched. What do they say about love? They seem to say, movies and films are the same thing, just like that. Movies seem to say what? Say that love is inevitable a lot of times. When two people fall in love in the movies, they tend to, everything just falls in place. And they always seem to show a happily ever after ending. Ooh, that's too many P's. Happily ever after ending. So now we know what the films say. And only songs get it right. So what do songs say that's different from what the films say? Well, there are a lot of songs about heartbreak. I don't know if you guys could hear that or not. That was my coffee coaster. Even teaching from home, I'm still chugging my coffee. Only songs get it right. So songs talk a lot about heartbreak. mean, think about how many breakup songs there are in the world. There are also a lot of songs, though, about people who are in love and who are struggling, and how the song will talk about how they're going to make everything right. They're going to work through their difficulties. So I think that's good for that little note there. These last few lines are pretty much self-explanatory, so I don't feel like we really need to annotate them. It is irregular. Love is irregular. It is difficult and always, always surprising. So when you're thinking about the theme of this poem, we have to add up all of these notes we made to help us figure out the theme. So we know love is not a 5-star stay, so it's not always the best of experiences. It's not sweet, but it's always nutritious. Love is good for you, but it's not always pleasant at the time. We know that it is a full serving, so you're never going to have just partial love or a little bit of love, but it is overwhelming. We know love stinks. You can smell it coming. So it's not always, you know, the nicest thing to have around, but you know it's there. You're aware of it. It doesn't always feel good. And we know that it is not like what we see in the movies. It is not easy where everything just falls into place naturally for you. It's more like the songs where there's pain and heartbreak involved in love. We can see that it is irregular and difficult and surprising. So the theme, the idea that she's talking about is love, and what she's saying about love are all of these things that we just discussed. So hopefully this will help you as you go through your own reading questions and your own analysis questions of this poem. And I will talk to you guys again next time. See you later.